Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing not Sunday. Oh my goodness, it's Monday. Happy 3-day weekend, happy MLK Day, and happy Inauguration Day. So today we're going to be going live as the stock market is closed in preparation for the overall trading week. Wanted to share kind of things to look out for, how the market is currently trading, and maybe what to pay attention to this week. I will be breaking down some of the top stocks that you guys see value in. So all you literally need to do is share your top stock in the live chat. And all you have to do is be subscribed to the channel to be able to comment on that live chat. So I hope that on your thumbs up, please consider subscribing. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. MSTR, obviously right off the bat, as Bitcoin begins to sell off, as President Trump says nothing about cryptocurrency, as again, for those that didn't see, it was an absolute flop, once again proving that crypto is incredibly risky and that meme coins are the absolute worst. It's still an absolute terrible look. Trump released this meme coin at one point, it hit highs of like $76 per share or something like that, and then it's crashed 50% already. It's lost and went down to $31 per share. So imagine that. At one point, it had a $15 billion market cap, and then it sold off and it's lost about 50% of that. So just think about that. All of the Americans that were there to support him, partake in this meme coin that he promoted in his social media applications. It just sounds like a wannabe hawk to a meme coin launch all over again. I don't care about the excuse. I don't care of who did the selling or why it crashed. It doesn't matter. It's tacky. It's a terrible look, and it's embarrassing. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. A lot of you guys know that I definitely didn't vote for the other party. But it's okay to acknowledge when something is right and when something is wrong. Just like we said in today's earlier video, if it smells like shit and it looks like shit, call it out for what it is. And it's shit. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican, so it needs to be right. No, it doesn't, right? There's a lot of shitty things that a lot of people do, and this is definitely one of them. It's a terrible look and so unfortunate for a lot of beginners that fell for the hype, that bought at highs of 70, 60, 50, and are down a terrible amount. So it's just a really bad look for cryptocurrency as well. It just makes it look incredibly scammy, incredibly risky, and we'll see. We'll see if it holds above 100,000. I'm just super excited because of this big sell-off that we began to see with BTC as of right now, because the market's not open, but we do have access to extended hours. I was just chatting with the LPP team, and right now MSTR is down 1.86% during the extended hours, proving the point that when Bitcoin sells off, so does MSTR. At one point, MSTR hit lows of 375 as Bitcoin hit lows of 100,000 and like $50. So what do you think would happen is if Bitcoin breaks below 100,000 and begins to actively sell off? It's not rocket science, right? If you're part of my LPP team, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Bitcoin has a very consistent pattern. It runs to highs of 100, sometimes 102, 104, and then it retraces right back down. It runs up, it runs right back down, and it normally finds its support at 90,000. It runs up, runs right back down, 90,000. Runs up, runs right back down, 90,000. Runs up, runs right back down. Normally, right? We'll see if the sell-off continues. I'm super excited because if this thing does continue to sell off, we all know MSTR is a super shitty, overvalued piece of crap company that has no actual underlying business other than buying Bitcoin. Imagine your business being so terrible. Imagine your company that's publicly traded is such a terrible company that you just divert to, hey, I'm just going to buy Bitcoin. Like that's what our business is going to be and consist of. I'm just going to borrow against our investors at 0% interest, dilute all of our shares, continue to try to ask to be able to dilute even more of our shares to borrow money at 0% interest to buy Bitcoin. I mean, that's what it is, right? Let's call it what it is. Some people call it the ultimate money glitch. If they're very pro MSTR, you'll often hear them call it that. It's hilarious. They're borrowing against their investors to buy Bitcoin. But every time that it retraces or that Bitcoin retraces back down to 90,000, MSTR trades anywhere from $280 to highs of $300. So that's what I'm really excited for. If we get the break below 100,000 for Bitcoin, because it's not confirmed, so let's not get too excited. If we get the break below 100,000 and we begin to retrace, common support range, 90,000. This is why I'm sharing it with you, because again, a goal is something to work towards, not something that has to happen. I'm well aware that crypto is incredibly bullish short term and long term. I have to give credit where it's due, but in the short term, it's incredibly overbought and due for a really nice retracement. So of course, it's incredibly hyped up that if anything gets announced, if anything gets tweeted, this thing can skyrocket very quickly. So be cautious, be careful. And like we encourage a lot of beginners, that if you do choose to short MSTR, carrying that short overnight is not the safest thing to do, right? We always encourage beginners to not be afraid to close out the trade and close out that short every single day. Yeah, you might miss out on some opportunities when Bitcoin continues to sell off, because MSTR can continue to sell off, but don't worry about that. We're not here to be perfect. We're not here to pretend that we can capture every big move. It's make your money and bounce is normally how we choose to approach the market. So just make sure that, again, you respect it for what it is. It is a risky stock, and it's risky for a reason. It's very volatile. It can quickly skyrocket. And again, it's not because it's fundamentally a well-run company. It's because Bitcoin is incredibly relevant right now. So you have to respect the hype. Just like GameStop during that pump and dump movement, again, it wasn't that everyone believed GameStop was a good company. It's just that it was trendy and it was relevant at that given moment. Now, no one gives a crap about GameStop because it retraced. The company itself sold enough of its shares that it put itself in a very comfortable position. And that was smart of the company, because the company knew that it wasn't valued at what it was trading at. And again, any company that has a brain cell would have done the same thing, right? It's not rocket science. So let's go ahead and MSTR is truly one of the only ones that I'm really focused on for this week, just because of the setup that we have with that huge gap down. I don't really feel like I need to talk about another one. I'm going to let you guys kind of present all the other different stocks that we break down. The only one that, again, is also, if anything, even more risky is SOUN. It's an overhyped up, also piece of crap company that ran from $3 to highs of 25. A lot of you guys know that I love trading and shorting overbought reversals. We called it out when it was at $25 or $20 per share. It ran up to 25 and then quickly crashed. It's crashed already more than 50%, about 50% of its value, from highs of nearly 25 all the way to lows of $12.50, 49.49%. So again, now it's consolidating at the same range that it was consolidating at before. We'll see if it begins to recover due to hype, or if it breaks its support and continues to sell off back to its previous support of $3 to $4 per share. But again, we can't predict the future. No indicator is going to tell us, oh, it's going to go up, oh, it's going to go down. We don't know. We wait for the market to paint the picture of, hey, are we bullish or are we bearish? Is market saying this is a sell, or is market saying that this is a buy? You wait for the price action to present itself. So instead of trying to force a trade or hope for something to happen, put yourself in a position in which you can tolerate. And again, it's a great way to start 2025 on a positive note, right? That you do it because it makes sense, not because you just want to. So let's go ahead and break down your guys' top stock. So if you guys want me to break down your top stock, all I ask you to do is drop a thumbs up on this live stream. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and share it in that live chat. I'm going to be doing three more. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I mean, this week is set up very, very nicely for us. So let's see what we're going to be breaking down. I love that. We kind of have to. We have to break it down. Right, Manel? DJT. How can we not talk about this company? Again, you guys know that I didn't vote for the other guy. But if it smells like shit and it looks like shit, call it for what it is. It's shit, right? Don't get me wrong. DJT, right? Trump's social media application. Right now, it's up 1.5% during overnight hours, which means that if you have access to Webull, you can actually buy it and sell it right now. Again, if you want to download Webull, it's absolutely for free, and they will offer you a sign-up bonus. It's the 5th link in the description down below. If you use my link, you'll earn up to 40 free shares depending on your deposit when you initially sign up. So again, but the thing that I want to point out is that DJT is incredibly risky right now, and the reason why is because it's incredibly relevant. This is kind of like when Roaring Kitty was still talking about GameStop, when he was actively tweeting and making videos. He can say anything and this stock can go up, right? Just like Trump can say anything and the stock will go up. So we kind of have to respect the trend right now. It is a little bit more on the bullish side. There is no confirmation of an active sell-off, but one thing is certain. Every single time that DJT pumps, it always dumps, because fundamentally it's a terrible company. It pumps and it absolutely dumps. I don't think people understand how terrible it is. Have you guys ever looked into their financials of how much revenue this company creates? No? Market cap, let me just make sure that you guys understand that. $8.6 billion. $8.6 billion. You guys hear that? Billion. Look at their previous quarter, what they produced in revenue. I'm pretty sure this is in the millions. Yeah, in the millions. They produced $1.01 million in revenue. In a quarter. I'm not going to say that my company does or does not make $1 million per quarter. All I'm saying is that I'm not worth $8.6 billion, but I'm not far from that either. Hey, I'm just saying, it doesn't match up, right? It is absolutely blown out of proportion, but I get it. Trump's in office. He has a social media application. It's trendy. And if he's president, maybe his company will succeed. I get it, right? Just like the same hype is being presented with, Tesla right now because Elon's there. But Tesla, obviously a much more sustainable company. This is dog water of a company. Very simple. Its PE ratio, negative 23.3x its earnings. Okay, so would I consider shorting DJT? Of course, because I know eventually it will crash. I'm certain. It's not an if it will crash. I'm certain it will crash. It always does, right? But every pump has its moment. Let it pump. I don't have to go long on this, but I hope it goes up to $57 again. I hope it does. Why wouldn't we? That means more money we can make on the downside. Just wait for the opportunity to present itself. It's like literally letting if you're an animal and you're hunting, letting two of the animals that you're about to hunt down kind of just beat themselves up. And then you just wait to strike, right? That is the setup that we are waiting for. We know it's going to happen. We know they're going to get tired, right? Let it pump. It's going to peak. And we're here to short it on the way down. Let's not overcomplicate it, okay? Just another penny stock for DJT. Yep, and there it goes. Look at this. We got BTC dropping below that moving average, actively selling off. We'll see if we actually break below 100,000 for BTC. I'm too excited. And here we go. MSTR taking a quick dump. Love to see it. Lower high. Watch it break below and sell off 5%. Ooh-wee. Too excited. All right, I'm going to stop talking about it. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's do two more stocks that we're going to break down. TSM, short 1 hour. Max, I just like the way that you broke that down because it just sounds like you know what you're talking about. So you gave me a time frame to pay attention to because you obviously have done your own due diligence. Okay. I see what you're saying. So I don't want to say you're wrong because there's a lot of different ways on how to make money in this market, and I'm not here to pretend like the only way that I do it is the way that I do it is the only way, because that would be a complete lie. All I'm saying is that TSM is an incredibly bullish stock. So shorting it right off the bat is kind of it's kind of like learning how to swim against the current of the ocean, right? Do you want to swim with the ocean or against it? Do you kind of get that analogy? You're just simply making it more difficult. Now, it's not impossible. Of course, TSM rallies and it corrects, rallies and it corrects, it rallies and it corrects. So I see that setup, but it's so incredibly bullish that you're really trying to time it perfectly. And that's kind of challenging when the stock is so incredibly bullish, because it could just find its support and continue to rally. And it's more bullish than it is bearish. So again, it's just, there's another layer of risk. So I'm just saying that because of that, I wouldn't be super encouraged to short it. But I get it, because you see that setup, you see the downside potential, and from overall highs to overall lows, there's about 9% downside. I think, just again, the ones that I kind of pointed out, if it's MSTR or anything like that, we all know they're bullshit companies. We all know that when they peak and they crash hard, right? And they tend to offer, in my opinion, a little bit better risk to reward than this. But again, MSTR is incredibly risky. MSTR is incredibly volatile. This isn't as volatile. So again, you need to learn how to walk before you run. So I kind of like this, that it might move slower. So even if it does go against you, you can manage or mitigate risk accordingly. So I like it. I see what you see. I just wanted to also share with you. I didn't want to be a yes man for you, right? Especially if you're part of LPP, you know exactly. I like to give you my honest opinion. We don't need to agree with each other in every single point, but I 100% see what you see. I just wanted to point out what can go against you in my experience. Make sense? But I really do appreciate you taking time and sharing that with me. All right. Yeah, we just broke down TSM, Chris, long term. Will the market correct? There's no indication of that right now. Again, you guys know that I think that personally the market is very overbought. And again, I get it. My YouTube titles sometimes say market's getting ready to drop. Those are just titles. If you're part of my LPP team, you know exactly how I talk about the market. I do think market's overbought, but market's incredibly bullish. It's been very resilient. And if we look at NASDAQ, which is like, QQQ or SPY, that's S&P 500. If we look at it on the larger time frames, it would be a lie to say that, hey, no, this thing has to crash. No. Is it kind of lacking progress? Sure. But is there confirmation that, hey, we're bearish, we're pulling, we're trading below the moving average now on the day chart? No, we're not there yet. It would be too early to be able to predict what is bound to happen. So I truly want to see if the excitement continues after Trump is in office. Does he come out swinging and just deliver after delivery? We'll see. I do not think it's going to be super smooth. You guys know, and I need to make this very clear, you guys know I didn't vote for the other guy. But I'm also I don't want to just be a yes man, right? We can't just be naive. My concern is, and this won't piss you off, but this will, I think some of you guys, might scratch your head and you're like, you kind of have a point. My concern with this is, of course, I want to see Trump do exceptionally well. My concern is that the market is already so incredibly overbought and inflated that this is what he's being handed. The market at all-time highs. And I think it's a perfect position for someone to fail. The reason why is normally when the markets are this high and we're kind of in a difficult spot where we're trying to transition from, raising interest rates to cutting interest rates, and now the Federal Reserve doesn't want to cut interest rates as much, what if the market begins to decline? And then again, the blame gets put under Trump. But just like with Biden, when he took over the office during the pandemic. Pandemic conditions were incredibly low, but it had huge potential for markets to recover. I would almost prefer to take on a market when markets are incredibly low, because then I get credit for all of the recovery. Do you get what I mean? It's not like they actually did anything. It's just it's unfortunate luck of the draw is what I see. So again, that might be completely too deep into does it actually matter? No, not necessarily, but markets are overbought. They're very delicate right now in what we want to see. And we'll see when he begins to implement those tariffs and inflation begins to go up, but the Federal Reserve doesn't want to start cutting interest rates. And what if we are forced to cut and then inflation goes up even higher? And then it's this whole circle all over again. Well, then inflation skyrockets because the CPI report, which is the Consumer Price Index report, gets calculated every single month. And if tariffs go up, they always get passed down to the consumer, right? And if that's the case, then consumers will be paying for more. And that's going to be tracked on the inflation report. And then the Federal Reserve might feel the need to either cut more interest rates or start to raise interest rates to slow down inflation. So again, it's like we understand that in the short term, there's going to be pain, but this is often what we need for a long-term gain. So I don't think it'll be super easy in the beginning. Let me do one more stock breakdown and that will be it. Make sense? All right, one more. MSTR is going to rip when markets open. I agree. It's going to rip right back down to $300 per share. I'm so glad that we can see eye to eye to that. I agree too. Let's do Tesla. I think Tesla is a good one because obviously him being part of, an advisor, we'll see how it's reacting. I'm curious. Okay, it looks like it shot up, but kind of just consolidating. It's up about 1.5% during overnight hours. Not really much progress in comparison to the sell-off that we saw on Friday and what we're seeing right now. Markets are kind of stagnant. They're a little bit in the red. I think markets are trying to figure out if they're excited or not excited about these tariffs that Trump plans to implement to Canada and to Mexico. I'm sure a lot of you guys might have heard that. If you guys didn't, that's going to be a big focus, something he wants to implement on day one, and people are scared. People are scared of what it's going to do and get passed down to the actual consumer. Let me make this very clear. Do I think Tesla is a good investment long term? Yes. Do I think it's a good investment long term at these price levels? No. Do I think that Tesla in the short term can continue to go up because of his affiliation to Trump? Yes, if markets continue to go up. Do I think that they need to continue? Do I think the risk to reward ratios make sense? No. I think that, again, let me give you an analogy. Let's play rock, paper, scissors. If you win $20. If you lose $80. You want to play? That's the way that I see this. It's, okay, well, I could only choose paper and, the analogy that I wanted to give you is just simply putting things into perspective of, yeah, in the short term, this thing can possibly go up, excuse me, a little bit higher, but we all know Tesla is incredibly inflated. It began to completely switch its direction after his affiliation was announced to Trump. And that can only sustain itself for so long, especially if Trump begins to kind of not perform as what was originally expected. Then again, that negative influence will get passed down to Tesla. Just like it reaped all of the benefit from all of the good, it will also wreak all of the downfall of all of the bad. Does that make sense? So we can't be surprised. It's a stock that went from being down on the year to having one of its best performance in such a short period of time than we've seen ever before, right? It went from lows of $200 per share to highs of $488, reaching new all-time highs and putting Elon at a $400 billion net worth. We have to understand, it's not that it's necessarily a bubble, but hype is being factored in. Fundamentally, Tesla does not produce, nor should it be valued at $1.37 trillion. Even Elon himself has said it, where Tesla currently is overvalued. Now, long term, yeah, Tesla has great projects in place. And hopefully one day it can become the most valuable company that's publicly traded. But remember, it doesn't mean that you have to buy now. There could be huge pullbacks along the way. And we know that they always present themselves. Again, when in doubt, zoom out. Tesla is an incredibly volatile stock. It rallies and it dumps. It rallies and it dumps. It rallies and it dumps. Again, if you're getting FOMO, you can decide. You're an adult on what you want to do. I'm not here to tell other people where they should buy or where they should just sell as an adult, right? It's put yourselves in positions in which you can tolerate. But if you buy now and this thing begins to retrace down to $200, you can't be surprised because it's kind of like common sense. It's, again, don't bite down more than you can chew. If you can't tolerate the pullback, then don't buy at overbought levels. Very, very simple. If you can tolerate the pullback and you simply want to be invested, then your risk tolerance and your intentions are very different. So I can see how you can make sense of it. So again, different intentions for different investors and for different traders, and I want to respect that. So I hope that I kind of clear that up. So Yeah, I mean, that's really just it. So I just wanted to break down 5 different stocks. We talked about coin, we talked about sound, we talked about DJT, we talked about TSM, NASDAQ, and overall Tesla. So I'm excited to see how the markets open tomorrow. Do they open in the red? Does Bitcoin break below 100,000? Is Bitcoin going to break below 100,000 just like we talked about and go back down to 90,000, which is its previous support range? I'm super excited to follow up and to find out. Remember, our job is to pay attention to the market, see what presents itself, and to choose to take action when our criteria is met. Not just because we want to, but because it actually makes sense. Again, I do trade live every single morning. If you ever want to tune on in, it's the second link in the description down below. You guys know the deal. It's $1.35 a day is what it breaks down to if you break it down for a year. But again, it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. So if you want to watch me trade live, the cost breakdown is literally $1.35 per day. And it's the second link in the description down below. You get to see all of my entries, all of my exits. And again, it's just a raw live trading session. So if you want to be a part of that, second link down below. And I hope to see you tomorrow at Market Open for our live session. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.